The night had fallen heavy over Thornmere, the village silent except for the occasional creak of wood or the distant hoot of an owl. The air carried an oppressive weight, thick and humid, as if the world held its breath. The 7 strangers, scattered across the village, were each restless, their unease growing as the minutes ticked by. It began with a low rumble, almost imperceptible at first, like the distant growl of a storm. Then came the tremors. The ground shuddered, causing shutters to rattle and lanterns to sway. Villagers emerged from their homes clutching cloaks and squinting into the darkness. From the hills beyond Thornmere, a shadow rose against the sky, vast and undulating, as if the darkness itself had taken form. Crimson lights flared within it, fiery eyes that burned with malevolence. The villagers gasped and retreated, murmurs of fear spreading like wildfire. "It's here," Kata said, her voice low but steady. She stood in the center of the square, shield in hand, her gaze fixed in the approaching shadow. Lyra joined her, the runes on her staff flickering to life as she muttered an incantation. "It's bigger than I expected," the mage admitted, her calm tone belying the tension in her posture. "What is it?" Elric stammered, having trailed nervously after the others. His question went unanswered as the shadow crested the ridge, revealing its full form. The Archfiend was enormous, its body a swirling mass of darkness, punctuated by jagged molten spikes. Its 4 massive legs crushed trees with every step, and its claws tore into the earth as it descended toward the village. A roar erupted from its maw, shaking the very foundations of Thornmere. "By the gods," Corrin whispered, his usually steady hands trembling as he gripped a simple dagger. "What can stop that?" "Us," Dane said, drawing his blade with metallic hiss. The knight stepped forward, his dragon-scarred armor gleaming faintly in the moonlight. "Get the villagers to safety. Leave the beast to me." "You think you can take it alone?" Kale asked, perched on a low rooftop with a throwing knife spinning idly in his fingers. "You'll need more than that oversized toothpick." "Then help," Kata snapped. Striding toward Dane, she slammed her shield into the ground, its edge glowing faintly as it activated some hidden enchantment. "Or stay out of the way." "Enough talk," Lyra interjected, her staff raised high. "It's upon us." The Archfiend roared again, its molten claws gouging the earth as it lunged toward the square. Kata planted her feet, raising her shield as the creature's massive claws came crashing down. The impact sent shockwaves through the ground, but the shield held, its enchantment flaring brightly. "Move!" Kata shouted as the beast reared back for another strike. Lyra unleashed a torrent of fire from her staff, flames licking at the Archfiend's shadowy form. The beast recoiled, roaring in fury as the fire seared its molten spikes. Dane charged forward, his blade slicing through one of its legs in a shower of dark ichor. But the wound closed almost instantly. "It's regenerating," Corrin shouted from the sidelines, pulling a wounded villager to safety. "Then we need to keep it busy," Kale said, leaping from his perch to land nimbly beside Kata. He hurled a throwing knife that struck one of the creature's glowing eyes, causing it to shriek in pain. "Eyes are almost always a weak point," he grinned. Near the chaos, Rordan stood calmly, his skeletal frame outlined by the emerald glow of his staff. He muttered an incantation, the green tendrils of energy snaked from the staff, wrapping around the Archfiend's legs. The creature struggled, its movement slowing as Rordan's magic took hold. "Now!" Rordan bellowed. "Strike while it's bound!" Dane and Kata moved as one, their combined attacks severing one of the beast's front legs. The Archfiend collapsed, its body writhing as it lashed out blindly. Shadows erupted from its wounds, coiling toward the group like living tendrils. Elric, frozen at the edge of the square, watched in horror as one of the tendrils arched toward him. He stumbled backwards, fell to the ground, and raised his arms in a futile attempt to shield himself. But before it struck, Kata's shield deflected the blow. "Get up!" she shouted, pulling him to his feet. "I told you before, you're part of this now, whether you like it or not." Perhaps she saw something in him that he never had. Elric nodded shakily, grabbing a discarded sword from the ground, probably the same one that tripped him moments earlier. It felt awkward in his hands, as if it were laughing at him, but he followed Kata back into the fray, swinging clumsily at the shadows that swirled around them. The Archfiend's roars grew more frantic as the group pressed their attack. Lyra conjured a lightning storm, each bolt striking the beast with unrelenting force. Kale darted in and out of the shadows, his knives finding their marks with precision. Dane delivered crushing blows with his blade, while Rorden's magic sapped the creature's strength. Finally, Corrin stepped forward, his voice raising in a chant. He cast a blessing over the group, their weapons glowing faintly as his magic amplified their strikes. All the weapons, that is, except Elric's sword. Instead, his body glowed as brightly as the others' weapons. With a final coordinated effort, Dane drove his sword deep into the Archfiend's chest as Lyra unleashed a blast of energy that shattered the creature's molten core. Elric swung his sword, but the strength of the blow seemed to originate from him rather than the blow of the weapon. The Archfiend let out a final deafening roar before collapsing into a heap of ash and shadow. Then it was gone, wisps of smoke vanishing into the breeze. The square fell silent, save for the heavy breathing of the 7 strangers and soft murmurs from hidden bystanders. "That was," Elric began, his voice shaking. "Only the beginning," Rordan said grimly, his staff dimming as the emerald glow faded. "This creature was a servant, not the master." What little flesh remained on his bones seemed to shrink and tighten against his bones. Lyra nodded, her expression dark. "True power lies elsewhere. This was merely a test." As the villagers emerged cautiously from their homes, the 7 exchanged glances. The Archfiend's attack had bound them together in battle, but the greater challenge lay ahead, somewhere in the shadows. The real enemy waited, and was watching.